Come, son, we must leave this cold area before we freeze to death. Papa, Papa, wait for me. It is so cold and I can hardly move, Papa. Oh, son. Oh, son, why? Why do I have you? What was that, Papa? Nothing, son. Come here, I will hold you near my atomic heart and keep you warm. Oh, thank you, Papa. Thank you. Oh, I regret you so. What, Papa? Nothing. Go to sleep now, son. Okay, Papa. I sleep now. I sleep now, Papa.
Ever see a monster hatch out of a giant egg? You will! Japan's greatest foe delivers an heir. Son of Godzilla. Welcome back to Entertainment Rebooted and yet another episode of Cinema Revisited Godzilla.
Godzilla!
Where we watch all of the classic Godzilla movies and we talk about the good, the bad, the ugly, and the iconic of this fantastic series.
So great.
So great. I am, of course, joined by my co-host, the great and overpowered Pat.
Hi.
All right, Pat. Tonight's film we watched, Son of Godzilla, 1967.
Boy, did we.
Oh, man. I guess we watched. More like we were forced to we bore witness.
Yep.
To the Son of Godzilla. Let's give the audience the plot.
Alrighty. Set on a tropical island where they're performing weather experiments because they want to save the world from starvation. Because they believe the human population will hit its maximum number in 100 years. So they're trying to control the weather to make the inhospitable areas hospitable for farming.
By turning it as cold as humanly possible. Turning it into a frozen tundra.
I mean, I think that was just a proof of concept.
Either way, man. That's what all they proved was we took this tropical inhospitable environment and turned it into a frozen inhospitable environment.
Yep. A reporter airdrops himself in to see the thing because no one else is talking to him. And he was not invited. He was just like, I heard I could smell a story from miles away.
Because he's a good reporter. Therefore, a leech.
Yep.
And he shows up where he's not wanted and annoys everybody.
So they make him the camp chef.
Taught him right. And them, probably.
Yeah.
He didn't look like he knew how to cook.
No, he did not.
Anyway.
They keep getting interference on their radar.
Probably similar interference as the beginning of the film where a plane ran into Godzilla. And Godzilla was causing interference with their radar equipment. Perhaps there's something similar happening, though they don't believe Godzilla's on the island.
They do not. There are, however, giant praying mantises.
Like human-sized praying mantises.
Horse-sized.
Yeah, about horse-sized. They're like between a horse and a human-sized praying mantis.
Yes.
Large praying mantises.
Praying manti?
The mantis.
Manati?
Oh, what do they call them? They actually have a name for them. Magni?
I don't know.
What was he made a name for them?
Oh, Kuramungo.
Yeah, that's what it is. We're not going to remember that. So just
big praying mantis go, ah!
Exactly. And speaking of things that go, ah! As he's going about trying to find food and herbs for the people in the camp, he discovers a woman.
But this island is deserted.
Huh? So he comes back to camp and they tell him that he's had a bit of a mirage right before they're about to bring about their greatest experiment.
The weather is finally appropriate. They're releasing the balloons into the atmosphere with the cryo unit.
And then they're going to follow it up with the silver iodine.
And then they will release the solar radiation absorption device.
But wait! As the solar radiation disruption device flies and gets close to where it's supposed to be before it detonates.
Way before it's supposed to be, they lose communication because the interference is hitting again, and it's hitting hard.
And if it goes beyond the 1,000 meters, it may cause the entire island to heat up instead of cool down.
It will magnify the sun's radioactive effects on the island. And what do you know? It does.
Exactly that.
Yep.
156 degrees, baby.
Yep.
For a week.
1 week straight. The island is wilted to smithereens. The storms come in and wash it all away. And when it's finally cool enough for them to go out,
they find the biggest of reliefs. The air conditioner actually ran for that entire time at 150 degrees.
Yeah.
I would actually bring that back to the scientific community. I would just be like, your engineers are geniuses.
Yeah.
Let's sell this.
Yeah.
These,
so they come
tanks.
back out. And they're trying to repair everything that was damaged by the insane heat. Just everything.
Everything's scorched. Like, it literally looks like it was the surface of the sun. The paint's wilted. The awning that they had before caught fire.
Yeah.
It was awful, but not as awful as a giant praying mantis.
Gianter than before.
He mutated due to the radiation and the heat. And now he's bigger than a skyscraper.
Yep.
And he's not alone.
There's 3 of them.
And the 3 of them congregate at the thing that caused the interference. A giant pile of rocks.
And they start bashing away at it. And what do they find? An egg.
And we all know from previous experience in Godzilla films, whenever there is a giant egg, there must also be dun, 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 dun.
Something inside of it.
Dun, dun, dun.
So they're bashing away at the stones, and they get the egg out, and then they start smashing at the egg. And the reporter and one of the dudes is over there just like, oh, nice, look, it's an egg, and they're cracking it. And then out pops
the most malformed, unhealthy gray turd.
Yeah.
Also known as Baby Godzilla.
Yep.
He is the ugliest thing I've ever seen.
And he can't really move on his own. And the mantises just kind of start smacking him.
Literally just like...
Because they're just going to smack him to death and then eat him.
And mind you, they just broke through huge giant rocks. His protective outer eggshell.
Yep.
But are having the hardest time possible puncturing him.
Because he's too soft.
He's too
turdy.
He's too much of a turd. But this turd belongs to somebody.
At the same time, one of the men on the island from the scientist team has gone crazy and has decided he's going to take his gun and he's going to get back to Japan. So he runs towards the ocean with his gun.
And falls into the sea. And what emerges from the sea?
But Godzilla!
Bum, bum, bum.
And he's in here with a purpose.
To, unfortunately, collect the child that he lost in the divorce. Actually won in the divorce. He lost the divorce by winning the child.
Yep. So he smashes up the island, completely destroying the scientific research center. The journalist and the other scientific member are running away because they're like, we probably shouldn't be super close to this because they're about to start fighting. They get separated, and the journalist falls into a cave.
Yes, he does. But luckily, the cave belongs to a beautiful woman.
Yes.
The one that he was told was a mirage.
Yep. After she feeds baby Godzilla a coconut.
Because he does manage to escape while his papa beats the living crap out of a praying mantis, killing one and maiming another.
2. He kills 2 of the 3.
He does, yeah. Actually, you're right. He did kill 2 of the 3.
He atomic breaths 1 to oblivion.
And his leg just goes flying.
Yeah. He then takes the other one and just goes whop, 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 whop. And then atomic breaths him.
And the other one just like,
I'm out of here.
This shit,
Peace.
I'm out. Gets his wings and floats away.
Yeah. Then Godzilla just kind of stomps around, just like, I'm Godzilla. My turf now. So baby Godzilla's unattended. She comes out and feeds him a coconut, because have you considered the coconut? Then she goes back to her cave and sees him knocked out on the floor, accidentally wakes him up with a rock, and then throws a knife at them because she says, "You're a thief. You were going to steal my book." He was like, "No, I was going to reclaim the shirt that you stole from me."
That's my shirt because men don't wear red.
Yes.
That's colorist.
Yes.
I'll have you know that even though I don't usually... I wear red quite often. I'm highly offended, madam.
Yeah.
What is your name? Saeko? That's
So-
actually her name.
Pretty much.
It is Saeko.
Yeah. So he runs back to the research center and he introduces them all to her
Psycho.
with the books of her father, who is an archaeologist on the island.
Not a psycho.
I mean, he stayed behind on a deserted desert island with himself and his wife.
Yeah, and they do mention that like it was 20 years ago, and he was just like, when Japan was withdrawing from the Pacific,
Wink,
some archaeologists just kind of stayed behind while Japan was just no reason just withdrawing from these islands
Yeah.
20 years ago.
Yeah, no reason for that.
Don't look into it anymore.
Yep.
Nope.
But her father died 7 years ago, and her mother died in childbirth. So she's been alone on this island for 7 years.
But she speaks perfectly fluent Japanese, and she has found a way to survive due to the power of the coconut.
The coconut.
Anyway, moving on the plot, Godzilla finally collects his kid, and boy, is he so thrilled to have him around.
So thrilled.
The child decides to throw fits.
Yep.
He has a bit of an attitude.
Yep.
He likes to randomly just make odd noises.
Yeah.
And Godzilla may or may not a few times threaten to discipline him physically.
Yep. And may have done it once or twice as well.
Yeah, probably.
So then they're all hiding out in the woman's cave. They're trying to get a signal out, but oh no, now everyone is sick with a fever.
The jungle fever.
So they have to run up to where the hot red water is.
Which just so happens to be where Godzilla is. But wait, there's something else on the way there that they're worried about.
They must pass through Kungamunga Valley.
Home of Kungamunga.
The giant spider. Giant spider.
As if the skyscraper-sized praying manti were not enough.
We're talking like...
We don't know yet. We just know that he's a giant spider.
Yes, we just know they're a giant spider. Sorry.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry.
Well, don't spoil it, Pat.
So they pass through the valley once safely. And they sneak up on where the red water is, and they see Godzilla trying to teach his stupid child how to breathe his atomic breath.
And he keeps making stupid smoke rings.
Yep.
And finally Godzilla gets him to actually
Do
shoot breath by stomping on his tail.
Yep.
But the child just simply doesn't learn.
Nope.
Well, actually, he does. He has the atomic breath by himself like 3 or 4 times, and then immediately forgets the very valuable lesson from his father,
Yeah.
who decides to take a nap because he's been drinking.
Yeah. So they get the red water, get back to the cave, and then luckily the radio has been repaired so they can call for assistance. The problem is the antenna has to go back outside.
And while they're going back to get the antenna, they attract the attention of baby Godzilla. And baby Godzilla proceeds to accidentally a rock into the face of the giant spider.
A giant spider the size of the Super Bowl dome.
There's a lot of those.
Any one of them is big enough.
It is a giant spider. Football field size spider, yes.
Yes.
And bigger than the praying mantis, which also shows up.
Yeah. Because the lady ran into him while she was getting herbs.
Good old herbs.
To treat a wound.
Because that's what you do. You get your giant red water that's definitely not Kool-Aid.
And definitely is not radioactive from
all the atomic breath being blown into it immediately before you collect it.
Yep.
No. So he awakens the giant spider, Kungamunga.
Kungamunga.
Giant spider, Kungamunga. And while he's fighting with Kungamunga, the praying mantis shows up and is like, "Yo, bro, get away from my snack," and starts fighting the spider. And while they're fighting, the cave begins to cave in a bit. And so they're desperate and they're like, "What are we going to do?" Well, we're going to hope that they fight him off.
And they don't bring in actual Godzilla, because if he steps here, this cave is gone for.
Actually, we're conflating the two now that I remember, because they come up with the plan to freeze the monsters after the spider shows up and chases the two of them. This is where the movie gets weird,
right?
Because it's anyway. So baby Godzilla wakes up the giant spider. The giant spider doesn't immediately run into Godzilla.
Right.
He chases the people.
Yeah, he chases the people, and then he starts building a web outside their cave. That's why they have to go through the sea cave.
Yep. And they come up with a plan to freeze them all.
That's when they meet Godzilla.
Yeah.
Baby Godzilla.
Yep.
Okay.
And so baby Godzilla follows the two of them as they're getting ready to... Are they setting up the radio tower so that they can communicate with each other? They're doing something outside.
They were getting
they're getting the life raft. The girl and the guy were getting the life raft.
Okay, yeah.
So that they could get to the ship because they called in a ship.
Yes.
And the other people are going back to the facility, being led by the main professor who stayed in the cave with the radio operator.
Yes.
To direct the entire experiment.
Yes.
And so he's there. The giant spider is there because he's like, my tasty snacks are in this little cave. And then baby Godzilla is just like, but mama, my friends, they're there.
The coconut giver.
Whoa. And the praying mantis looks up at the top of the hill and is like, the gray turd's back. My snack. I must have him. And so they get into a giant fight. The spider, the praying mantis, and me. Sorry. And baby Godzilla. And so they get into a fight, and baby Godzilla, because he sucks, loses very quickly.
Quickly.
The praying mantis comes and is like, no, that's my snack. And so the spider's like, 2 snacks for the price of 1. And he cocoons both of them.
Yep.
But eats the praying mantis first because he was extra crunchy.
Bigger threat.
Yeah, bigger threat. You're just, baby Godzilla is more of a dessert wine.
Baby Godzilla he could take care of at any point.
Yeah. He's more of an all around thing. The praying mantis is a little crunchy, so he's more of a snack.
Yeah.
And
appetit.
And giant Godzilla is attracted by the screams of his child. The screams that are so annoying that they're getting in the way of the radio broadcast. But somehow worse. So it's causing interference with the radio, and they're like, oh no, if only he stopped crying. And so literally Godzilla stumbles like drunkenly over the ridge. It's just like, you stupid kid, you got cut by the giant spider again? After I kick his butt, I'ma kick yours.
So he starts beating up the spider, atomic breath in him.
And they finally get the
They launch weather balloons with the cryopod and the atomic the solar radiation absorption device.
And this time, because he finally stopped crying, they were able to actually get the radio broadcast in order to launch it properly, and it begins to snow.
And they run off to their little life raft and they start paddling out to sea.
And it starts snowing, and literally the entire crew are in red jackets with white fur lining, and it's snowing. It's become a Christmas movie.
And then we see Godzilla up on the hill with baby Godzilla
just after vanquishing the giant spider.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Baby Godzilla just kind of hopping over towards him and just like snuggling up against Godzilla. Just like, bro, it's cold, you gotta leave. But Baby Godzilla can't do anything because Baby Godzilla is useless.
So he literally falls on his face and it's just like, Papa, Papa, help.
And then they just kind of sit there, and then a submarine emerges, but they're just like, oh no, because they think it's another Godzilla. But nope, it's a submarine. They just didn't tell them.
And we're left with them getting onto the submarine and frozen Godzilla and Baby Godzilla huddled together in the snow as they're going into hibernation, and they definitely didn't freeze to death.
Yeah, the scientists definitely said they'll be happy and safe on this island once it warms back up. Until then, they'll hibernate.
As giant radioactive lizards definitely do.
Yes.
And that was Son of Godzilla.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. All right, moving on to the good, the bad, the ugly, and the iconic. Pat, if it doesn't hurt your brain too much to try to find one, what was good about this film?
Creature design other than Baby Godzilla.
Yeah. Yeah.
The mantises, the spider.
Yeah, they were creepy. They were very creepy.
They were creepy. They were good.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree with that. Like that was pretty good. Like the monster design's pretty good. Godzilla's still wonky.
Yeah.
They're still not quite getting him quite right. He's
lost a bit of his fierceness. They they try to cutinize him too much.
They did, and now they're like thinning him out.
Yeah.
And his face is all scrunched. So it's odd. I do agree, like the monsters are definitely good. I would say that I think that the sets work pretty well. Like you can kind of tell that the 70 degrees Celsius, 150 plus degrees Fahrenheit, scorching the island. They did very well with that.
Oh yeah, they did so well with that.
Yeah, so you can really tell the devastating effects of this, of this heat wave that they generated. I think that continuity is pretty good. How about bad?
Baby Godzilla.
I would dare say that that's the ugly. Personally,
it's both.
It's bad and ugly.
Yeah. I mean, the bad is that he doesn't seem to learn at all. Like, there's no growth for the Baby Godzilla character throughout the entire film.
Yeah, he's kind of useless the entire time. And he just kind of wanders.
Yeah.
And he wanders into the plot more often than not.
It's like, it's almost like Baby Godzilla is inconsequential. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Like if anything, if Baby Godzilla wasn't there, this film would actually have been probably cleaner.
Yeah.
I think. That's why I would say that he's the ugly. I'll get more into it when we get to ugly. Unless you just want to combine yours, and then I'll say my bad and ugly.
I mean, yeah.
Unless you have a separate ugly.
No, the ugly is just his design, really. Like, the bad is his, like, there's no character growth and, like, he's very not needed. The ugly is just him.
The bad's the character. The ugly is, like, everything surrounding him.
Yeah, everything surrounding him, his design. He literally just looks like a turd when he busts out of the egg.
He really does.
He looks like a
malformed turd.
Yeah.
Like, literally, it looks like, yep, I'm going to the hospital.
Yeah.
That kind of turd where it's like, yep, this is it.
And then, like, he grows a bit and he's still just, he looks so stupid still.
Yeah. All right. For me, the bad. What's the bad? I think just the movie itself, the music. Again, I talked about this in the last movie, but it kind of carries over into this movie. The music is bad. It is the surfer music. It's the high, it's the high energy. And it also is playing that in like the oddest places. Like Godzilla shows up, like he's like and his entrance is terrifying. Like you can make that a terrifying entrance.
Yeah.
He's literally like the sea's just like roaring, ripping as he's coming into the thing, and he pops out, and the waves are going, and the camera's doing. I think the camera even did a shake.
Yeah.
When he comes out, and instead of like the bomb, 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 we get bum 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 yeah. And so it's like that was bad, and then whenever they're like getting chased by the giant spider, which is terrifying looking,
Or the giant praying mantises,
who are also terrifying looking.
Yeah.
It's a lot of that same like the
like beach movie songs.
Yeah. So the music is bad. Ugly is Baby Godzilla. It is ugly. Not just physically, but the sound design is terrible. The way that the character moves is awful. Like it just like it has the dumbest face, and we spend the most time as the audience looking at the dumbest face in all of history.
Yep.
And that's saying something, because I wake up to this every day. Anyway. So it's just it's poorly designed as far as the character. It's ugly. The sound design's awful. The way it moves is awful.
Yep.
And in being completely honest, the entire movie is just awful. I almost would have laughed if Godzilla literally saw it getting beaten up by the praying mantises, and then left.
Yeah.
That would have been hilarious. Just like, I'm here to save you, son. Oh, God.
Also been more Animal Kingdom.
That's true.
Most lizards are not caring. Like, they lay the eggs and that's it.
Yep. But, yeah. So, yeah. Baby Godzilla. Ugly.
Yep.
Iconic. What is the thing that you actually would tell somebody that this makes the film worth watching or viewing at least once? What is the iconic thing? And it can also just be like in general, like what you think is iconic that may have influenced other cinema or something. Like what makes this film iconic? Would you like me to go?
Yeah.
I would say that the puppeteering work of the praying mantis and the spider is done extremely well. They move very well. They seem fairly believable. The praying mantises, like the little legs kind of on the ground, are definitely just kind of floating and jumping about. But the spider specifically moves in a way that is very unsettling.
Yeah.
And as a result, it works very well with that. The puppeteering is iconic for the insects, but definitely not for the opening scene with Baby Godzilla, because again, he is the worst thing in the history of mankind.
Yeah.
So I would say that that's definitely iconic. Another thing is just like a side note, like a nerd note. It's interesting to watch this film as a sci-fi film from the 1960s, 1970s, because the 1960s and 70s, the big thing that everybody was worried about, the world-ending thing that they were all worried about, was overpopulation, and the fact that we literally would not be able to grow enough food to accommodate for the exponential growth of mankind.
Yeah.
That was their big doomsday thing. So the fact that there's actually like this sci-fi movie that's taking what at the time was like modern day climate change and making a movie off of it, it's interesting to see it as like this little time capsule where we've kind of moved on and we're like, no, actually, like overpopulation in major cities is a big deal, but to be entirely honest, it's like, no, our food chains are actually getting better, that we know that it's not that big of an issue. But at the time, it was this great crisis that everybody needed to do their part to either fix the food chain or
not have kids.
And it's interesting too, because Japan now has a problem with their they don't have as many kids as they used to.
Yeah, I mean, they have
so that culture is kind of
have like one of the lowest birth rates in developed countries.
Yeah, like And so it's interesting because it's like this movie kind of catches that they took that world-ending threat very seriously. The science terror thing very seriously. So that's just like a fun little nerd note.
Nerd note.
I'm very good at those because I'm a nerd. All right, Pat, you got an iconic?
There's not a lot I would say is actually worth watching this for.
Yeah, even the fights aren't that funny.
Yeah.
It's funny seeing Baby Godzilla get hit in the face twice with rocks.
It's so hilarious seeing Baby Godzilla get hit.
Well, because he has the dumbest face. Yeah. It's squishy and it's dumb. And so he gets hit in the face and it's literally like, ah!
Yeah. He gets hit in the face by a rock so many times. It's so hilarious. Godzilla even hits him with his tail once by accident.
Another thing is that, like, maybe the iconic part, like the thing that makes it worth watching, going on with him being hit by the rocks, is Godzilla 100% is an abusive drunk dad.
Yeah.
The entire film, he is very clearly fed up with this thing that we all also hate.
Yep.
So he literally does a thing where he's like teaching him and the kid doesn't get it like the first time. So he literally does this.
Yeah.
Like getting ready to like punch him in the face.
Yeah.
And like it's like, no, wait, I'll try again, Papa. And then he gets his tail stomped off. Yeah. So it's like, maybe the iconic part is the fact that it's just like, Godzilla definitely should not be a dad.
Godzilla should not be a dad. Godzilla should not be a dad.
He's like a prime example of like everything wrong with child rearing.
Yep. Godzilla shouldn't be a dad.
He shouldn't be a dad.
Shouldn't be a dad.
Nope. It's probably why I don't know if Son of Godzilla shows up again. He may have died on that mountain.
I wouldn't put it past it.
He may not have even died on the mountain. Godzilla may literally have just been like, "Don't worry, son. I'm going to go get some milk." Never came back.
I can see that.
Yeah. Speaking about seeing things, what do you think you would do for a modern audience, like to get them to see this movie, or like what would fix this movie in your opinion? Because I think that this movie is very clearly like it's not good. So if you had the responsibility, Son of Godzilla, modern audience, how would you handle that, Pat?
There's a lot of it that you could actually use. Mm-hmm. It's really just like the Baby Godzilla part of it that throws most of it off. Like, you can still do the island with the weather experiments. You change it from like overpopulation to
climate change.
Yeah, counteracting climate change.
Yeah. It's modern hot button issue.
Yeah. And you do like what if the egg doesn't hatch till the end? And this,
like he's protecting the egg and they don't understand why he's protecting this mound?
Yeah. Kind
of like Iguanazilla?
Yeah.
Where the end is like, no, he laid a bunch of eggs.
Yeah.
You can do that.
Yeah.
That could work.
So he's protecting the egg. Like, he had got, like, the mate had been there, mate passed away. So he has to go back to protect the egg now.
And the scientists don't know why, and there's this interference.
Yeah, scientists don't know what's going on. They don't know why the interference is coming there. Godzilla shows up after the failed experiment. And they're just like, oh, God, why is he here? And then, like, Godzilla starts just getting in the fight with the giant praying mantises there. Like, the egg could just be closer to, like, where the red water is. You can still, yeah, it's literally just, and at the end, we see the egg hatch.
It's baby Godzilla, but it's like a mutated version of Godzilla, so it might actually even be more terrifying.
Yes.
That could work. I like that. I like that a lot.
Yeah.
All right. For me, I would lean more into the fact that, like, the beginning part where there's like the giant praying mantises and stuff in the forest, I think is really cool. You could actually make it a thing where the journalist shows up on the island because he finally sneaks into it because he's like, there's this like secret compound. I knew that you guys were coming out here. Nobody's been able to come out here. I don't understand why.
Yeah.
We had a team out here before for bringing it back. Maybe it's like the college. Maybe the college is sending students or something, and they're like, we just sent this guy to at least get kind of the scoop of what's going on because we haven't heard from you in a long time. And it's like, we can't leave because there's something in the forest. There's something in the jungle. Okay, it's stealing our supplies. It's killing our people. If you leave the perimeter at night, especially, and we only see these like terrifying eyes or something in the in the jungle moving about very quickly.
Okay, yeah.
And so it's this thing where it's like, eventually it's revealed that's kind of like human-sized, horse-sized praying mantis.
Yeah.
And insects and things like that, and they're very territorial and they're carnivorous, perhaps.
Praying mantis do eat meat.
Yeah. So
I mean, that would also kind of work for why the egg would be there, because they would lay the egg where there's plenty of food for the newborn young.
Yeah.
So like before the mutation, those mantises would be the perfect size for the young to eat.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so it's kind of this ground where a lot of these monsters probably do like their breeding and stuff, and they don't realize it. They're just like, it's kind of an uninhabited climate. It's very warm, and we are trying to. Maybe it's heating up. Maybe that's a thing too. Is like, because we're talking about like their thing is going to be climate change. So it's like this island particularly, we notice has these periods where it heats up for unnatural amounts of time and on odd times.
Yeah.
We want to figure out why. We want to figure out what's causing it. But also, perhaps there's a way for us to reverse it. And if there is a way for us to reverse it or maybe stabilize it, it becomes more of a long-term solution.
Yeah.
So that's why they're there. But they're kind of trapped because it literally is a thing of like every time we try to leave, we can't. The radio also, recently, the radio has gotten very much interfered.
Yeah.
And we don't really understand why. Because we lost a lot of visuals, we lost a lot of the cameras, the manti, the things in the jungle are destroying our electronics.
Yeah.
So we don't really know everything that's been going on here. We have been trapped, and we can't really get word out.
Yeah.
So there's all of that going on, and then the scientist, the professor, is just like, well, we have a world to save, so we're just going to continue on. Radio equipment or not, we're going to continue our experiment so that way, even if we die on this island, somebody will come back and get our records.
Yep.
So we are going to launch and we're going to do our experiment. And they point out that they're like, well, but we have this radio interference and stuff. He's like, well, actually we're using microwaves for communication because they're a bit longer term, they're longer range for the higher altitude. So it should be fine. There shouldn't be anything that can jam that high up. Yeah. But what ends up happening is after they launch everything, as it hits a certain height, the wave extends just long enough that it jams and it goes off higher than normal, and it causes the opposite of what they wanted to do, which was cool down or regulate the temperature. And as a result, the radiation spikes and the heat spikes, and the manti become huge mongus. And now because they're huge mongus, they're now prime predator, and they're going after the eggs. And there's multiple eggs.
Yeah.
And they start being like, man, we're seeing like these giant praying manti, and they're not in the jungle. They're leaving the jungle. Oh, I wonder what that's about. And they follow it, and they find like the breeding grounds, and they're cracking open multiple eggs.
Yeah. Yeah.
The cracking of multiple eggs, maybe there's like a screech or something, like this high frequency thing. They're like, oh no, like what is that? And it calls Godzilla in.
Okay.
And then Godzilla comes to defend the eggs from the praying manti, and then all the other creatures that they are on this island start showing up because it's more like a Skull Island thing where it's like everything is huge now. Yeah. So you get a giant monster fight with Godzilla, and then finally the last egg hatches, and it is this mutated Godzilla thing. And it's like, what hath we wrought by trying to affect nature?
Okay, yeah.
So that's what I'm thinking.
I like it.
Yeah. Any final thoughts or anything else you want to add, Pat?
Godzilla shouldn't be a dad.
Godzilla really shouldn't be a dad. He is awful.
Yep.
But speaking about things that aren't awful, we are trying our best to give you guys the content that you guys want, make these videos a little bit more fun and enjoyable. We really do enjoy watching these movies. Like, they're not good, but we have a lot of fun, like, making fun of them and doing our little skits and things like that. So if you like these videos, be sure to leave us a like. Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. What did you think about Son of Godzilla 1967? Or if you have any feedback or recommendations for other series and things like that on the channel, we are always open to your guys' feedback. We're also open to your guys' friends. So if you haven't already, please subscribe and share us with your friends. We would, if you appreciate our humor, they probably will appreciate our humor too.
We appreciate your appreciation.
And we're hoping that it appreciates in value. And that we have appreciated your life.
Very much so.
Anyway, thanks guys so much for watching, and we'll see you guys in the next one. Bye for now.